My name is Jeremy Bowser, AKA Doogie, if Nate had shared any stories. The first thing I would like to do is thank the Hardys for honoring myself and my other SEAL teammates and Nate's teammates for welcoming us here to enjoy this celebration of his life. I first had the pleasure of meeting Nate at DLI, which is the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California. It was easy to become quick friends with Nate. As everybody knows, he welcomes you into the fold and you feel like you don't want to ever leave. It's this overwhelming feeling of warmth when you're around Nate. So, needless to say, became quick friends, spent my time out there at DLI struggling with Arabic as Nate and all of us did. And there's also a very small contingent of SEALs there at one point in time, only roughly about 5 or 6 at a time. So when you're not studying, it's a welcome respite to have, a beer or watch a game with your fellow teammates. From there, everybody knows that Nate moved on and went to SEAL Team 8. Did a fantastic job as he does with everything he does. But I kept in touch, and as everyone who knows him, he aspired to come to Naval Special Warfare Development Group, where I'm at. And I encouraged him, as well as everybody else did. And he went there, 2007 Green Team, and we have a selection process, 6-month selection process, which isn't very easy. And Nate just seemed to sail through it. And what people don't know who are in the selection process is that everybody's watching, because we're looking for our next prospects in the squadrons. And Nate was watched, of course, by me closely because I was rooting for him and really wanted him. But he was watched by many. And when it came to our draft, which is not necessarily the NFL, so it's not like you can see it on television, but it's still a draft where we bring the guys from the selection course into the squadrons. And myself, as well as many other guys in Gold Squadron, lobbied heavily to get Nate in our team, in our squadron. And then again, I had to lobby heavily to get Nate into my team. The story that I shared with Steve the one time is one that I will share with you, and it happened this last deployment with Nate. Onto the story, somewhere in a far corner of Iraq, in the middle of the night, where most people don't know where we're at, and I'm probably sure I couldn't pick it out on a map right now. But our assault element was taking down an objective, and it consisted of multiple compounds, and it'd be the equivalent of a city block's worth of space. Nate's fire team was in charge. They were on one side of the street, freezing down, or basically holding down to keep a cordon on this building, while the rest of the primary effort was taking down the other side of the street. That quickly changed when they took fire on their side of the street. So we reconsolidated our effort and moved to Nate's compound, where Nate and Mike Koch already had things well in hand and had what we thought had already eliminated the threat. But just to be sure, we still have to clear the compound and take care of business. So our method is to lead with a grenade into the room, pull back, and then assault through. I'm carrying the grenade, which requires both hands to pull the pin. So Nate's on my shoulder, and he, of course, like anyone would know, is on your shoulder, and you know he's there. And he's covering for me, watching every possible threat to me. So as we move up, I don't want to get any closer to the door, as in, everybody knows you don't want to be in the field of fire. So we might have been maybe 10 yards away from the door, which I think is a perfectly good distance where you could throw a grenade and put it through this doorway opening. So as I'm prepped and I say we're stopping, in not so many words, and I pull the pin, and I swing back, and as I swing forward, just an explosion in my ear is, "Don't miss." So, Nate and his infinite wisdom. So as I release the grenade, it goes just a skosh to the left. Just enough to the left that it hits the door frame and drops right in front of the door and doesn't actually go in the room. So our attack quickly turns to a retreat for the moment, and Nate and I are hightailing it out of the compound to get behind the wall. So I ended up getting a little bit of a stinger. which was the equivalent of the pain-wise of getting hit in the shin with a baseball bat. So it's just a little bit. But quickly after the explosion, I run outside, and Nate, being the first person to come to me, of course, to make sure that I'm okay, and then as soon as he sees that I'm okay, begins laughing robustly and just out loud all over the place, along with apologizing. It may not have been a good idea to say that right then, but that's what you remember about Nate. And everybody who had any kind of contact with Nate had an impact in your life. And Nate had a tremendous impact on mine, with my family, with my work, and he always reminded you that no matter how bad things are, how good things are, wherever it is, and no matter how tedious the task, there's always light, heartedness to be had during those times, whether you like it or not. And Nate's impact in my life had a little bit more bite, because it's literally an impact, but I will always remember him for that, and he will be sorely missed. We love him. Thank you.